All right, the red light's on. That means we're on. So if we stand kind of like where we can see the lens, then it can see us.
Cool.
So it's got like a fisheye kind of
Shall we
thing.
answer?
Is this a one at a time
So
thing?
I'll do both of you at the same
Okay.
time.
Cool.
Are you guys like is this something you guys have ever talked about with each other?
Honestly, no. I don't think we ever have.
I think so.
So it might be, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
this
you.
will definitely be
Sure,
cool.
definitely will.
So, so I'll run the question by for the sake of the camera, but otherwise we just talk. We don't
Okay.
have to look at the camera. So my name's Jeff, first of all.
Cool. Brendan.
Brendan?
Yeah.
All right. Good to meet you.
Dakota.
And Dakota.
Yes.
Okay. So, either one of you, what do you think happens after we die? What would be your initial response to that?
My initial response would be the energy that's within us kind of goes back out into the universe, the great cosmos.
Okay.
That's my first thought.
Yeah. And something you have thought about before, like
Totally.
think about a lot, or
Grew up super religious. I'm from Cleveland, Tennessee, Smoky Mountains.
Cleveland, Tennessee.
Mhm.
Okay.
Small town. Grew up super religious, so it's something that's been a part of my life, or more of it than less of it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so getting out into adulthood was more of like a journey of self-discovery for me.
Okay.
So I thought about it a lot.
Dakota, how about you?
I was almost kind of go in the same thing. I didn't grow up very religious at all. I didn't really go to church or anything or have any religious beliefs. So I just thought there was some sort of higher power. So if we were to pass, the first thing I think about is honestly energy or like spiritual sort of release into the afterlife and being something else or being a part of someone else. And I just feel like a lot of us like have past energy in us and we're not aware of it unless we kind of like tap in with the spiritual
Some way of tapping
energy.
in.
Yeah, just kind of like really listening to our bodies and what's around us. I feel like all of our prior knowledge just didn't come from life experiences and what we learned. I feel like some of it's come from past lives. So I don't know, I feel like we kind of transition that into another person, another thing, and just keep going.
Yeah. So, kind of sounds like you guys have come to the same conclusions, but from different backgrounds, right?
Yeah. Honestly, we've been good friends for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
We actually just moved here on last Monday, Nashville,
Brandon.
and I moved from LA. But we've been friends in New York for the past 3 years.
And
never
no one
really-
stopped and asked you this question
No,
yet?
we've never really talked about this kind
People
of stuff.
ask you this all the time in Chicago. That's what.
Really?
No, I'm
I was
kidding.
like, okay.
Welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, welcome.
Right, it's the Bible
Breaking the
Belt
ice for
of-
you guys, yeah.
Yeah. So, so now you did say something about a higher power.
Yeah.
Would you say you do believe in a higher?
I do believe in a higher power. I don't know if it's God or if it's called God or what exactly the name or what we say it is. Cause it could be any, like, I don't
Yeah.
know who's to say what it is, so I just,
I mean, I would
whatever
say
it may be,
God, like a general
Right, of
idea
course.
of God is that this God is the creator and the one who set all the rules, kind of thing. Creator not just of matter and energy, but creator of the rules that govern them.
Right.
If that makes sense. And that by definition would make it the higher power over us for sure.
Definitely.
Right. So yeah, I try not to just assume that when I say do you believe in God, do you believe in like the God of the
Christian
Bible?
God,
of course, yeah.
So how about you? Does it
I-
figure in?
So I read the Bible back to front a few times,
Yeah.
and as you can see, or maybe not see, I carry around spiritual like reminders.
Uh-huh.
This is Saint Michael, and this is the prayer that he says on the back before he defeats Satan
Oh,
in
wow.
battle.
Is that
because
from the Bible then, or?
It's Catholic
Oh,
breakdown,
okay.
and it is from the Book of Revelation. So Michael was one of the people that like helped rock
Okay.
that out.
Yeah.
And what I've like kind of discovered is I totally think that all the religions are talking about that same thing. Like how he talked about, there is that higher power. There's somebody that set the rules, like you talked about, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I don't necessarily doubt, but don't have like a firm, like I don't want to say that it's a particular being or a particular thing that is setting these rules in
Yeah.
motion.
Just because
of-
you want to be respectful of other religions, it sounds like.
Well,
right?
entirely. I think that a lot of things that are wrong with the world is lack of communication, and a lot of it is a lack of communication about belief systems
Mhm.
and respect in belief systems once you are communicating about them.
Yeah.
And so I really try to be mindful of myself and try to be a light for other people
Yeah.
and come from a place of love anytime, even in disagreements. And then I think that is truly what a lot of religions are trying to like bring to the table, but with different stories in them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So probably now, do you come from a Catholic background then? Or?
I don't.
Okay.
I come from like Baptist Church of God backgrounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking like Tennessee, I don't think bastion of Catholicism.
It is not round.
I mean, I'm sure there's a few,
there.
but
Totally.
You know, yeah.
The Catholic Church isn't alive and thriving necessarily.
Right. In Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, this area is very much, I run into a lot of Catholic people. I'm not Catholic myself.
It's like the number one denomination of Christianity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of organized around ethnic groups that have immigrated into Chicago, you know, and so there's a lot of parishes and neighborhoods that are developed around the Catholic Church of that neighborhood, you know, so it's definitely very strong in Chicago still, you know.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like there's anything in Christianity that that's disrespectful of other religions?
In the practice of Christianity, I think so.
Yeah.
In the Bible and the teachings of Christianity, I think not.
Okay, so the way people live it out might be
Entirely
exclusive, but
if you read the book back to front, it's almost one of the like full open arms kind of book. I mean, most of
the Bible. You mean?
Yeah. And like a lot of the stories in there are like, help your neighbor. Like if you know, I see this person on the street, I don't care where they come from, I help them. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that applies to like somebody on the street, but it's not. It's applying to your neighbors everywhere. Yeah. It doesn't matter what your neighbor should look like or what your neighbor comes from or what they identify as. Yeah. You got to help people. And I think Christianity, the way it has been taught throughout the years, has put it inside of this bubble where if you're not in that or practice that, it's almost like shame, come join us. Well, if you don't join us, then you're out.
Then you're an outsider.
Yeah. Whereas I think that if you genuinely spent time to read the Bible, you would think entirely differently about Christianity and the way that you practiced it. I encourage everyone to read it. It's the #1 selling book in the world.
To read it back to front at your age, you're young, I'm assuming.
Read it when I was 18, back to front.
Okay, so it was...
for class.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was going to say, like, in order to do that, a person kind of needs to develop, like, daily disciplines. But I'm thinking about reading, like, a section, you know, small, like a chapter or several chapters at a time, rather than reading it, like, sitting down and reading.
I went to a small private Christian college.
Okay.
And everyone leaves with a minor in Bible.
Oh, wow.
So I had taken introduction to the Bible, New Testament and Old Testament, which was literally just reading the Bible and then coming to class and talking about it.
Yeah.
So I definitely have gotten. That's where I started my like religious journey of like finding new things.
Yeah.
Or new understandings about things that I've been taught in the past.
Yeah. Do you I'm just realizing this needs to change a little bit. Do you see anything exclusive in the teachings of Christ?
I don't believe so. If my memory serves me correctly, I don't think that there was anything exclusive, unless you want to talk about like when they set up shop in the temple to like sell goods and stuff instead of making it like a place of private worship for people. That's exclusive in terms of like, you know, maybe that group had to like serve their well-being, but I think that the story ties into disrespecting the church on a day that was supposed to be dedicated to worship. People were not doing.
Yeah. So like he was angry.
Yeah.
And angry that what was supposed to be a house of prayer for all nations.
Right.
That because it was the Gentile courts where they were buying and selling.
Are you familiar with the story?
Yeah, they were abusing the court, and so Christ threw them out. But yeah, it was written, "My house shall be a house of prayer." But the truth is, prayer for all nations. So that's actually a very inclusive act. But he wanted,
truthfully,
wanted God. One thing. And throughout the New Testament, do you still read the Bible, would you say, regularly?
I do not.
Yeah.
I practice Stoicism a lot. And instead, like, I read other stories and other teachings and find that oftentimes they kind of say the same thing, and for the most part it's a practice in kind of all religions. And I think that religion is oftentimes philosophy. We're questioning these higher powers, these things that go on in our lives. And so for me, Stoicism is something that I am drawn to more so than a particular religion.
So Stoicism is like...
It's a school of thought versus...
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, I can be stoic as far as, like, an attitude, but to practice Stoicism, so you're saying, like, reading Stoic writers, things like that. Yeah. So Dakota, sounds like you don't have much of a Bible background.
I have zero religious. I don't know anything about any sort of religion. I was raised to, like, care for everyone, love everyone, accept everyone.
Well, that's hitting the nail on
general,
the head.
I feel like I never needed any religious background. I just kind of like was very observant my whole life and seeing people bullied and just little things about your life. So I always accepted everyone for who they are, no matter what. I don't care what you are, where you are.
Yeah.
I'm accepting. I'll listen. I'll help you. I don't feel like I need to practice any religion or belief, or I've never been interested or really even like tried to even dive into anything. I just kind of like do my thing.
You could figure out how to...
appreciate everyone. I don't know if I had to figure anything out. I just love everyone and appreciate everything. And I feel like a lot of, like you're saying, religion and beliefs come from love and togetherness and basic principles, or what I think are basic principles that we should all practice and have, but our values. But a lot of people don't. But
yeah,
I just feel like I've been around a lot of religious people and not religious people, and just kind of see both sides of things. And I don't know. So I just kind of created my own little...
Yeah.
I try to be my own little light, like Brandon said, and just shed it on people and try to bring the best out of people and be like, hey, you don't have to do this way, we can do it this way, love everyone, why be the attitude, we can just, do it this way. It's like, I don't know, I just try to, just change people's mindsets really positive always. So I've never had like an interest to dive into any religious beliefs. My great-grandparents and grandparents are extremely, they say like the reason why they're married for 70 years was because of God.
70 years.
Yes, 70 years. So, but I've never practiced anything like that. So maybe just because I had them raising me and I just saw their principles and how they were loving and together and just everything. So I just kind of absorbed that. And
well, if you ever were to read the Bible, I imagine you have some opinions or ideas about the Bible just from what you've heard other people say about it, or
definitely.
I mean, I don't think we could escape that, And actually, in these conversations where I talk to people, most people, their ideas about the Bible are based on what other people have said. They haven't really, like, they may have read it as a kid, or, like Sunday school class or whatever, but our minds as kids, are very different from our adult minds as far as, like, what we take with us, or maybe they've heard a dumbed down version of it. So, like, the best example I can think of is, like, the whole idea about Noah's Ark, like God flooded the world and saved this family, and and the kids' version is, oh, wasn't that wonderful that they came through the flood? Well, the adult version is, well, there was a lot of people floating in the water, dead, women and children, and people we would think are innocent, and so there's the adult version of the Bible of what it actually says, and then there's the Sunday school version, and then I don't know, like, we all hear things on, say, social media or see memes about like maybe what the Bible teaches. So I want to throw a wrench in the idea of what does it mean to love people, right? So so I don't know if you guys know it, but Jesus actually taught about heaven and hell, that there is that we do have a soul. I don't know if your idea of the soul or the energy is that you would have a sense of being able to think, like this energy would just go somewhere, but is it you? You know what I'm saying? Is it your personality?
I've had quite the life experience that's made me believe that the energy that is right here collected in this particular moment, in this iteration, is the same energy as it was 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, and this is just a different iteration of that energy. And when that energy goes off, I don't necessarily think it's like a personality type deal, because the environment that we're in now, we make adjustments and we make choices based off of nature and nurture. And I think that the particular energy that's within a person is not responsible for all necessarily that person does, but then as it moves throughout time, it's still the same kind of energy.
Okay.
And then that energy does like ebb and flow too. And I think that that's a part of having like good days and bad days as a person. Sometimes
I'm curious what I mean, if you don't want to share it, but like what,
totally, I love to
led you
share it. I did DMT. It's dimethyltryptamine, and it is a chemical compound that occurs naturally in your body, in your pineal gland, and when you die, it dumps all into your body. And I took a dose of it, and it's the same thing that happens like when you die. And so I experienced a entire out-of-body, like watched my soul like fly out of my body and was sucked into the void, and gratitude like poured over me as I was part of this giant whole, and the whole wouldn't be there without my particular piece of energy there. And then I watched my entire life flash before my eyes in almost like pixelated time, and from like being in the womb to leaving the womb, and then also like seeing different people's energies and lights that were throughout my life. And that's why I think that like everybody's particular energy is theirs at that particular iteration. And that once you go back up into said void, your energy is still the same. And then it just carries on and is needed for a new task at some point. And that's why I don't necessarily want to, like when we were talking about previously, about assigning a God as this like particular entity or this creator, this person. I don't want to be like, okay, I do believe that. And it's not that I necessarily have doubt, it's just I have more questions after that particular life experience where I got throttled off to outer space. And
how long did this take?
So the experience in like human hours was 7 minutes, and I felt like I was gone for an entire lifetime. Lived an entire lifetime, and then like,
is that something you wanted to try again?
Yeah. It's totally non-addictive. It is like it's a spiritual thing. I don't know if you heard of like ayahuasca. People doing it's an old like tribal drug plant that occurred in the Amazons, and a lot of people are getting turned on to trying it now, and DMT naturally occurs in ayahuasca. So a lot of old tribal religions were like handing out this stuff for people to like drink and just like casually as part of their routines.
Is it like a really
practices.
Horrible drink too?
I did not drink it, I smoked it. But ayahuasca, yes, you like vomit and shit yourself.
Okay, I'm a high school teacher, and I have a fellow teacher who told me about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the name of the drug was, but
it's horrendous. But from your body is like, I hate this is awful, this is totally awful, I hate it. But your mind is like going through this like spiritual cleanse of all kinds of stuff. And I've talked to a bunch of people about it, and like, so every experience is similar but different. And so like another experience of like DMT was that this guy's brother had passed away, and he had done DMT, and his brother appeared to him in DMT, and then like turned, like he couldn't do anything, but he was just like a head, and the brother like turned his head one way, and it was like all beautiful, all was great, and then he turned his head to another way, and it was like all hell, all violence, all like horror. And then his brother like turned his head back to him and was like, you have the power to decide which way you look. And then he came out of his DMT trip, and it was at a time when he was like abusing hard drugs, and immediately stopped like abusing heroin after that experience, and became totally clean. And I ran into him, like he is like an executive at like a record label now, like totally normal dude, and was like, that experience was what helped shape my future and my life past, and my perspective on the day to day. So I think that sometimes those things are profound. So for me, I'm super spiritual because of that experience, but don't necessarily think that that there's like a single one-all religion that can explain something so profound as existence.
Yeah. So I just wonder so I think what I was going to say is having, like reading through the Bible, like if you haven't read the Bible, you're hearing other people's opinions of it, and their opinions are oftentimes based on maybe a few passages here or there. If you read through the whole Bible, it's actually possible to find what you're looking for and forget the rest, right? So what I was about to say is, I've been reading the Bible. I became a Christian in my late teens and developed this habit of daily reading the Bible. So I've read it through many times, but when I would think about the teachings of Christ, I was thinking about his love, his patience, his kindness, all the positive things about his teachings, helping one another, and they're all there. But what I didn't remember, I almost had selective memory, the thing that jumped out to me was not the fact that if you look through, I heard someone tell me, actually I wrote it or read it, that Jesus taught more about heaven or hell and punishment than he talked about heaven. And he talks about both quite a bit. But he it was like warnings of punishment. And, negative, and like here, we're thinking like Jesus is so, accepting of everyone. And yet he was talking about, warning people of the consequences of, a life with, not following God. And so I didn't believe it because I had been reading the Bible for years. And so I was challenged, to look back in. And so I sat down with the four Gospels, and with a T-chart,
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
Huh?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yeah, and like a T-chart, and so instead of just like Google searching hell in the Bible, or heaven in the Bible, it's got to be deeper than that because he doesn't always use those words,
Yeah.
And so I just took notes on what he was teaching and looked at, I guess I would put it in the negative side, which would be like judgment and hell and warnings and things like that, and then the positive side. And the negative side was way longer. And as a matter of fact, he taught more about hell than anyone else in the Bible combined, And it's like, is that the Jesus I remember and that I relate to? And so I started, realizing if he took it seriously, I need to take it seriously. And how is it that Jesus could teach the way he taught and be that, stern, really? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Jesus said, okay, so in the Bible it says, in the Old Testament it says, don't murder, right? And so when we think of the Ten Commandments, don't murder, don't steal, don't lie, So we're thinking, okay, there's all these rules, and you've got to follow these rules, and they're really strict in the Old Testament. And then Jesus comes along, and he's just all about love and everything. Jesus actually taught it's wrong to murder, but even if you're angry with your brother and you call him a fool, he said you're in danger of the fire of hell. So in other words, it's you could be judged and punished for murdering someone, and that's something we should be careful of. But then Jesus said don't even it's like, okay, it's wrong to murder someone, hurt someone with your hands, don't even hurt them with your words, if that makes sense. So it's not just the letter of the law, it's the spirit of the law. And so he was strict about that. So it's like, wow, I don't want to be in danger of the fire of hell, and I've called people bad names, people I love very much, get in an argument, whatever. And so I respect his teaching that, I need to treat people with love and respect, and part of that means don't call them a bad name, and there is a consequence associated with that, So here's my question about love. I want to, throwing a wrench into it. If hell is real, and if there is a punishment of hell and a reward of heaven, or being with God and being cast out of God's presence, would it be loving to tell people about it, and warn them? Like, in other words, I guess what I'm asking is, was Christ being loving with all those negative warnings and teachings? And see what I'm saying? How do you feel about that?
I mean, you would tell, if you saw a car coming and you saw a woman with a baby pushing a stroller across the street,
Yeah.
and the car wasn't going to stop, would you shout at the mother?
Yeah, I would hope I would run out there and help her,
That would be loving, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the same way.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I do get in these conversations all the time. I feel like a lot of people are hearing, like a lot of people have a Christian background like yourself and myself, and I grew up hearing all the good stuff, and to be honest, a lot of pastors and churches don't even want to go there with the bad part, because there's actually a lot of competition among churches. If you're too negative, you're going to scare people away, and they'll go to the next church. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we grow up hearing only the good things and the promises of rewards of following God, but do they ever, give the bad news? The gospel means good news that Jesus saves us, but then the bad news is that we actually need to be saved, So what is it that makes the good news so good? Well, unless we understand that we need to be saved, you can have your Jesus and I'll have my Buddha and you have your Muhammad, and see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying you have to agree with me, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like the good news doesn't make sense without the bad news.
100%. That's all aspects of life.
Yeah.
Right?
We don't appreciate something unless we know we need it.
When we get sick or fall ill, don't we try to go out and be better people after we're not at home anymore?
Yeah.
For the most part?
Yeah, I think we learn compassion as a result of that.
Entirely.
Yeah. So I don't want to wear out my welcome. So but
well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Great time. Yeah.
And if you go to my YouTube, I'll give you information about it, and I'll probably upload that within a few days. But I do. There's a lot of different people I've talked to on there, and if you ever want to check any of them out, you're free to. I don't expect that anyone will ever sit through these conversations. I don't edit them or make them interesting with dramatic music or anything like that. But I do write about them, and so in the video descriptions, I try to relate something from the Bible to each one, and so that'll be there. So cool.
Great.
Okay. All right.